There are many problems we have looked at today, but luckily there are also many people who are working really hard to solve some of the problems we have been talking about. So now we have come to the part of the program which we have called Nordic Solutions. It's to inspire you all at the end of the day. It's not only trouble. In this session, you will meet a total of 4 people who will share their thoughts with you. They have all had success with their ideas. And the goal, of course, is to inspire you, and maybe some of their ideas are applicable to the regions or the topics that you are working with. Each presentation will last for 9 minutes, so it's quite short. But again, as I've said before, this is meant as teasers to make you more curious of the people you meet. And afterwards, it will be followed by a short Q&A, also with this funny little catch box that we used earlier. So the first to present in this solutions tour is, her name is Kate Plaskonis. She works as an advisor at the cross-border organization called Greater Copenhagen. She is a labor market expert, and her previous work includes supporting businesses and public sector in delivering results on Agenda 2030 and Sustainable Development Goals. She grew up in Viv, which you see on the map, a city now everyone knows for all the wrong reasons. But she has been living for the past 12 years in Malmö, so she also feels that this is her home. But she also practices what she preaches because she works in Copenhagen, of course, so she commutes to her workplace there. When I asked her what she loved the most about Malmö, she had so many things that she loved, but one of the things was of course, the bridge. So please give a hand to Kate Plaskonis.
Thank you so much. It was a really nice presentation, and pretty much I will go directly to talk about Greater Copenhagen and the labor market in Greater Copenhagen. We've heard so many good theses today about the mismatch problem that we have in the Nordics. So I decided to talk a little bit about the mismatch we have in Greater Copenhagen. Let's put it like this. We all know that there is a problem, but if you look in southern Sweden, specifically to the city of Malmö, you see that there are actually 2 problems. First of all, we have a very high unemployment rate that September was around 12%. Wow, it's nothing in comparison to 1.4% in Norway in a county or 2% in Copenhagen. And what happens here is also we have this kind of mismatch that we're looking for different competences within green transition, different competences that has to do with healthcare sector, competences that has to do with everything. So what we at Greater Copenhagen do, and we are a political organization, we try to gather around our local and regional politicians. We try to affect governments in Sweden and Denmark, partly to fix all of the problems that Anna and August presented to you. But also there is this kind of feeling of urgency that there should be done something more. We cannot just go around and talk, well, there is a problem here and there is a problem there. What is really interesting about Malmö is that most of the big cities like Stockholm and Gothenburg, they have a very special curve of development. So when we look what kind of competences they need, first, there's of course high-skilled competences, but then also there is a big need for this low-skilled competences, people who work in restaurants, people who work in a hotel or a transportation sector. It's not the same case for Malmö. The need for those kind of competences is much lower, whereas in Copenhagen, it's still very high on. So we talk to the Danish companies, the ones that were mentioned before, the ones that go and say, we need workers, and said, hey, have you been looking to Sweden? And they said no. So the first thing we do, we collected our municipalities in Malmö, in Copenhagen. We took the Danish Confederation of Industry, we took Danish Chamber of Commerce, we took everyone who wanted to be a part of a very practical solution. And we arranged a job fair, a Swedish-Danish job fair. So by this moment, 2022, we have had 4 job fairs where Danish companies were attracting Swedish job seekers. And as some of you might know, there is a very big rhetoric in Denmark about Swedish people not wanting to work in Denmark, a lot of criminals trying to come over the bridge. But so far, we've seen enormous interest in coming to these job fairs. We have had 4,000 people during these job fairs. We have had 2 ministers of Nordic cooperation, one from the previous government in Sweden, Anna Hallberg, and another one from the Danish side, Flemming Møller Mortensen, who came and actually witnessed how the things look in practice. So what happened is not only a very concrete action to match the companies with job seekers, but we also involved governments and told them what problems there are, not only about the mismatch, but also about the taxation that Anna and August were mentioning, also about the trains who come, 5 minutes, 10 minutes late if they come at all. Been there, done that. And what happens is this synergy about creating jobs, but also about politicians trying to push the agenda further. So what we achieved is that the new taxation agreement now between Sweden and Denmark is being negotiated in this second, and hopefully we will achieve that the taxation regulation will put job seekers, commuters, and companies in the center, in the focus, not the rules, not the administration, not anything else. So far from the first 3 fairs, we had around a little bit less than 200 people hired, and we are now working on evaluating the last job fair. But what we can see right now is around 10% of people who come to these job fairs, they get job. And just to be clear, we have around 20,600 unemployed in Malmö. If 50% of these people start commuting and taking jobs in Copenhagen, we will have Malmö's unemployment rate on the same level as the rest of Sweden, which is 6%, not 12%. Moreover, it will be around 5 billion in Swedish economy. It's fantastic, and it's job fairs. It's something that we can do quite easily and with very little resources involved. We had 103 companies attending, from not being interested into looking at southern Swedish labor market until asking, okay, when is the next job fair, because we need more and more and more people to come. Then we did a very crazy thing that the Danish Confederation of Industry actually recommended. They said, we don't care how you get the Swedes here. You can take them with the bus. We took them with the bus. And they got employed in Denmark. And they were happy, because there is also the fact that people who do not work, who do not feel themselves fulfilled by not having a work, by living at social welfare, they feel empowered. They want to contribute to society. And then we can calculate it, of course, what those 167 hired people from 3 previous job fairs cost for the society, and it's around 100 million Danish crowns. Assuming that they have not been employed before, because of course they could be partly employed and so on. These are big money. These are big money that societies lose. And not talking also about the feeling of self-fulfillment. We started looking at green skills because, of course, the problem was mismatch. We can match some of the branches, we can match some of the areas, but when it comes to green skills, and then I'm talking about both the skills that are not very technical, but very practical, for example, carpenters and electricians, there is need both in southern Sweden and in Denmark. So one of the solutions is, of course, retraining and upskilling the population. It takes longer time. As we heard previously, there is not big interest for youngsters or people who stand very long outside the labor market to become all of a sudden electricians when all of their friends become lawyers and social studies students and so on. So that is something we try to do in cooperation between Sweden and Denmark, to have a common plan. Because we can talk as much as we want to about North or Nordics being most sustainable and integrated region, but unless we talk to each other, unless we do things together, it will never happen. So, common plan for retraining and upskilling of population, but also education takes time, and we do not have enough workforce to fill in the gaps. So we need to take workforce from other countries. Here is where the problematic part comes in. We have had quite strict migration policies in Denmark, and now we can see that the problem is becoming very big, so it shifts. The migration policy is becoming really milder. We can see that there is a lot of things happening to attract and retain international students, by example, by prolonging their visa from 1 year to 3 years. But we are backwards in Sweden because the policies are not coordinated. So instead of making it easier for international students to come and stay, it becomes harder. Again, miscommunication between the countries. And this is very on Greater Copenhagen's agenda, to make it easier for third country nationals who live at one side of Greater Copenhagen to be able to work on the other side, because it's not possible in the moment. When it comes to labor market analysis and mismatch, we understand also that there is a lot of problematics happening into not knowing how the situation looks like on the other side of the bridge. So we're trying to do the common analysis. How can workforce in Sweden be integrated in the need of Denmark, and vice versa, because we also have quite a lot of people traveling from Denmark to Sweden, taking positions within life science, within production, within different kind of industries. So that's what we're doing, and hopefully we will come with the results very soon, and I would be very happy to present it or send it to you. And of course, the marketing part. We want people from abroad to see Greater Copenhagen as their final destination for work, for life, and to make this region also as one of the most sustainable and integrated in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
You don't get to leave the stage.
No.
We have a few questions for you. Do we have any questions in the audience? If not, I will start with mine to warm you up. Any questions for Kate? There must be. It was very interesting.
It was quite clear.
Yes, it was very clear. But I want to ask you a question. Because Copenhagen and Malmö is two big cities, quite closely and well connected. So you have the geographical advantage. Not everyone have that works here within this topic, regional development. But in what way can your ways of working still be applicable to other places in the Nordic countries?
Well, I think to begin with, it's again about the analysis of the situation. I cannot say, precisely what the Finnish-Swedish border should do, but understanding how the situation looks like and being a little bit creative, trying things that haven't been tried before, or asking a lot of questions. Okay, did you talk to those people? Because we take it all often for granted, the communication and partnerships, as we did with Malmö and Copenhagen. We were so sure that Danish businesses talk with the local job centers. We were so sure that municipalities talk to each other, so it came as a shock that there is a lack of communication. So that would be my first recommendation, basically.
Thank you. So, anyone wanted to ask a question, or was it all clear? Or maybe you just had too little coffee in the break. Okay, if there are no questions, thank you so much,
Thank you so
Kate,
much.
for the great presentation.
Thank you.